So in just yesterday, they had the Oscars, and the documentary that won is called Citizen 4, and it's about Edward Snowden, somebody who's in prison in Moscow in many ways, and sacrificed his freedom to release information to the digital unconscious. He wanted to wake people up to the digital unconscious, which I say there is no digital unconscious. There's an Android meme unconscious, but that involves all the bodies, not just the digital body. So here's Hollywood celebrating a movie that's about capture in many ways. He exposed us being captured by the global surveillance as he is put in capture conditions in Moscow. So it resonates with the transmediality theme this year in 2015 of capture. So the capture is both frightening and celebrated, because here is Mao Zedong did not have an Oscar for his revolution while he was engaging in a revolution. There is a different kind of non-revolution happening, symbolized by Edward Snowden. What does he represent? Does he represent the post-information world that is not a threat anymore? So that therefore it can be celebrated as the revelatory educational documentary? I have not seen it. I'm actually just started watching it now. I've watched the first half hour. We'll see where it goes. But that's an example of what makes the market, the word that makes the market in the TV landscape here on February 22nd, 2015. Because you had your experience of transmediality with the Edward Snowden of Berlin, the guy who created the pirate eBay, and he walked around presenting information that frightened everybody as part of the transmediality experience, right?
No, he wanted to make a democratic forum in the internet, but what he created then is supposed to be used by the FBI to capture the users.
Thank you. This is like my second or third event I go to after being in prison, so maybe I treat you a bit like I treat other people now. So I have written a text, and I'm going to read it for you. It might be boring, but I hope that you get my message. So, there's a few big moments in life where you feel that something moves you deeply. Graduating school, getting your first kiss, writing that first book, publishing that first scientific document. Maybe a loved one dies. Getting your first customer in your cafe. Some of them might seem small and trivial to others, but to you they're huge and life-altering. Recently I got a similar feeling. A feeling that we reached a certain critical mass. A critical mass that are upset with the current state of the internet. No, the current state of policing the internet and what it promises the world. A critical mass that finally understands that we're on the way to a broadcast democracy with little peer involvement. What happened? Well, the Pirate Bay was shut down. It tilted people's brain into knowing that tomorrow their favorite TV shows must be downloaded somewhere else. They thought about it a bit and decided this is the beginning of a slippery slope. They understand that maybe this means that alternative content might be hard to ever reach, if at all. That this thing that we're centralizing the internet, having just a handful of centralized services, mostly owned by a company in one single country, a country that does not care about borders when it comes to their own gauntlets, is not maybe a great idea. A movement is forming, a movement away from this, and tomorrow when you wake up, it will climax into a whole bunch, maybe even a whole million of people that will see the group stop destroying the internet or give us the Pirate Bay back on Facebook. And you will all click the like button and you will feel proud. You finally did it, you stopped the internet from being destroyed. But of course, this will not change anything. The internet will keep getting destroyed. It will keep becoming more and more centralized. You can't do anything anymore. We tried, we sucked at it. The few people that really did anything are now old, some are even dead. The young ones believe in the system and try to change it from within. It's like trying to beat capitalism by trying to capture all of the money. Every now and then, we win a fight against one of the oppressive new measures, like we did with ACTA and SOPA and people. We congratulate ourselves and feel important. In essence, we just lost 10 other battles that we didn't even know about. We have our own celebrities. We had WikiLeaks, we had Snowden, we had Manning, we had Aaron Swartz. Some are dead, some are in jail. Some are in hiding, scared for their actual lives. What people reveal, what people fight for are major causes. Freedom of information, liberty, democracy, governmental transparency and due process, things we take for granted that are the basis for a modern, safe society. We talk about it a lot. We're upset, we cry, we scream, sometimes we protest. We have t-shirts, we have our symbols, we have our masks, our conferences, our transmediale, we have debates, we even get detention. People in general, like us, our opponents are old, fat, bastard, poor corporate sellouts. They're mostly rich men from the United States of America. They're super corrupt, they're easy to hate. It's like any good Hollywood movie. But we've all been fooled. We lost. There's no need in fighting anymore. We lost a long time ago by cornering ourselves. There's no use to struggle. There's no point in being positive. The only positive thing about it all is that we no longer have to worry. It's all predetermined. It's all a waste. There's no more any we or us. We're becoming drones, mind or without, it does not matter. We built the system, we trusted it because we trusted ourselves. We're all drones, maybe we've always been that. As Christopher just mentioned, I was recently locked up. I was kidnapped by the Kingdom of Sweden for trying to resist. I did right, both legally and morally. The kingdom was wrong. We all knew it. But I was a fool to think that right and wrong had anything to do with it all. Morals are no more. They've been replaced by control. Right is just a word that no longer has any meaning. It's a trick to keep people from being scared. Until you reach the edge, you believe in the system, even though people know in the back of their minds that they don't want to look over the edge. We all praise the internet for the liberty it brings, but it's become the essence of what's wrong. We praise technology almost like a savior, but it's the thing that keeps us in check. We show the examples of good things we've achieved with technology, with the internet, with leaking, with sharing, but it does not hold its merits. There is no long-term effects. Globalization by virtue of capitalism won. We talk about robots and technology taking our jobs, as if jobs had a higher goal in themselves besides what needs to be done. But when building these computerized and automatic systems, we created new jobs. And all of these new jobs are based in technology, and they feel so free in the Western world. It's almost like you're never at work. We even have our offices at home. We're always connected. We're happy to get to work with our friends. We don't see that we're becoming robots that work all the time, only associate with our coworkers, and that we don't have any free time anymore. We don't need robots, we are them. We are no longer in between jobs, we're in between startups. We talk about startups and entrepreneurship as the future, as if it's something new. We outmaneuvered ourselves into believing that alone means strong. Who ever heard about a startup going on strike against their customers over their bad working conditions? We're fucking up the work done by the unions for past centuries. For the promise of self-fulfillment, sourdough bread, cool bicycles, and a cheap apartment in Kreuzberg with second-hand IKEA furniture. The same furniture I recently discovered firsthand is made by forced laborers in Swedish and German prisons, by the way. There's no point in fighting. Whatever you think you can contribute, it's wrong. Life is not pointless, but trying to alter the content and path of life is futile. We're all privileged and super lazy. We never talk about revolutions anymore, except when creating a new hipster fixed bicycle wheel that would change the world. A term which today is slang for getting 15 minutes of fame for your product. Not you. And no, you're not the product as everyone has been saying about the internet. You're not that interesting. You're only a wallet. Call it activism, call it work, call it art, call it whatever you want. I've tried, my friends tried, you all tried, but capitalism won. It's game over. We're too lazy, we're too tired, we're too content. We just want our Nespresso machines and we don't want any responsibility. We blame our politicians even though we elect them. The politicians have no say anyhow. It's not about money, it's about the control. And it's not that we're blind. In the Matrix, Neo gets to decide. Does he want to live in blissful ignorance, or does he want to see the real world? When he decides to leave the Matrix, he wakes up and realizes he's just one of many humans that are being kept as resources. It wakes him up so hard that he can't ignore fighting the Matrix. But in our world, we see the issues daily. We see the beggars, we see the gender inequality, we see the rainforest being wrecked, the oil heating the planet, whales being slaughtered. We see our human rights being violated, we see the loss of privacy. We know we're being monitored by cameras and microphones everywhere. We even carry them around ourselves to help our opponents. The leaks from Manning and Snowden has not changed one single thing of essence. We're not blind, we're totally full-sighted, and we're awake. It's very telling that for some reason there's even career opportunities in being managers of human resources. We can't wake up from being awake. This year's Transmediale is named Capture All. For me, that phrase might refer to something else than it does for you. But my view is that a few is trying to capture all. They're capturing all the control, all the money, all the information, all the politicians, all the power, even all the sourdough bread. We're not even trying to stop it, we're actually helping them to do it. And on second thought, they're not trying to capture it, they already did. And as I learned from the movie 1984, the only way to win the game is not to play. But if we have to, it's time we set the rules and recapture all. Thank you.
Since Peter is only here basically tonight in the festival, I wanted to suggest if anyone wanted to ask a couple of questions, we won't have a long one, we'll have something like 5 minutes. So that's your chance now. You can take them. And there's microphones placed there and there, in the aisles between the seats.
And if you don't want to ask questions, that's fine too. Just don't make me stand there like a loser not having any questions.
It's unexpected in this kind of event, so, but we take 30 seconds more for people to think about it. Yeah, go up to the mic, please. Otherwise, it's Bruce.
Oh, I met Bruce a few weeks ago when he was talking for 1.5 hours about hats. I hope this is a question about hats.
How about your hat, Peter?
I don't have a hat. I actually have a hat in my backpack. I'll show it later.
That'll be great. Among the really large players in the internet scene, Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, which one do you think is the most loathsome?
The most what?
Loathsome. The most objectionable.
That's like, oh, that's a hard question. I think Google is the worst for the reason of trying to look nice. The whole idea of this do no evil, which means do no evil when people see and do lots of evil when they don't see. That's kind of my objection. And everyone thinks Google being a nice company and all. So that's why no more questions then. Oh, one more.
Hi, do we really not play the game to win?
Well, I would prefer not to play the game, and that's what I learned as a kid. Don't play the game if you want to win.
Well, what about war games where the computer plays itself? That's how you win.
Yeah, and he realizes that the only way to win is not to play the game. And that's kind of the essence of the movie. And I really think that we should look at that more, because we're always inside this box that we have to follow what other people tell us to do. So even, you know, deciding to not be on Facebook as me means that I'm part of the game. One time. Next question, please.
So, against whom shall we take more precaution? Is it what you call the corporate side or the political side? Is it not more desirable that we know that the motives on the corporate side are rather simple? I'd say profit-driven.
I don't see the difference really, because they're the same.
Yes, and yes, you don't know what movement leads into non-capture. His movement, Mr. Sunday's movement, captured all the members of the pirate eBay. whatever it's called. So there's the contradiction, many levels, and you are very interested in the new unconscious.
Yes, because I see that it is possible to program your environment at all levels, from the cellular level, the environment, and
Our bodies.
yes, our bodies and the whole planet, as McLuhan predicted.
Yes, yeah. And from the blood level to the planetary atmosphere.
Which at the time sounded totally like science fiction.
And he was perceived as a comedian.
Because yeah, they had no idea of the new technologies coming.
That principle. They had no idea that new technologies create a new unconscious, which we call the rearview mirror or an art form. They didn't understand the principle that a new environment will turn the old environment into a colossal preference that has to be cleaned up, adjusted, depending on which school of art takes on the old environment. Like Jean-Luc Godard has just released a movie about a year ago called Goodbye to Language. Now the topic, the headline, Goodbye to Language, is puny if you're studying McLuhan. That doesn't tell us anything, but for the conventional somnambulist, goodbye to language might be a challenging idea. But goodbye to language started with the radical modernists, Ezra Pound, James Joyce, and Wyndham Lewis, 80 years ago. So I would like to, I have not finished looking at Godard's movie. I have to finish, I've looked at half of it. But it doesn't seem to get across what I'm talking about. Goodbye to the android meme. He's not getting anywhere near the present with his radical movie.
Yes, and I think studying McLuhan and, for example, the revelations in the Bible, looking in this rear view mirror helps to understand this new environment. And
yes,
but the information is not only at the mental level. The new information is coming out also like chemistry and ISO.
Environmental.
Non-physical information. I don't know how to explain that.
Well, it's the mystery landscape. It's the mystery body becoming known. So how and we learn how it affects the chemical body, TV body, the astral body, and the chip body. So IMDb is revealing the mystery body, which we call, in particular, the eye cell.
But there was something said about.
Well, here's something about Revelations. We learned from IMDb, the Book of Revelation is best articulated by McLuhan's mediacology knowledge. That the actual meaning of the Book of Revelation is dealing with the environmental turnover of the unconscious. That's the very process I'm describing McLuhan discovered is a key point in the Book of Revelation. Not many theologians or Christians know that.
No, nobody knows the real meaning of the revelations and that it actually goes backwards.
Yes.
And it's so amazing that it was made for this moment.
I didn't get.
Yeah, that the Bible was made for this moment.
Yeah, it was made for February 22nd, 2011. It was a one-day affair.
Yes.
A year ago. No, 4 years ago. Early 2011 was pretty well the time that the Book of Revelation was meant for. Iandon led that concert that night. Much was learned. Much was surprising.
it out, and you're not going to survive the end of the world. That's it. I'm not trying to scare you or anything, it's just a form of reflection.